I'm Richard Long. Today we're going to learn the exciting world of powder coating. Anybody ever seen an antique item? You're like, man, I would rather just throw this away than do anything with it. Instead of throwing it away, we can actually restore these items to be something customized to your liking and protect it for years to come, so that expensive part that you've bought in the past will now last you even longer using powder coating. So the steps that we're going to go over today are 4 basic steps in powder coating. A, we're going to prep our material. After we prep our material, just as important, we're going to prep our equipment. From there, we're going to spray our equipment, our material, and then we're going to bake our item. Powder coating is a baking series coat. Our first step is prepping the material. Anything we get, this is an intake from a Harley Davidson. As you can see, it's seen some rough edges in this time. How we prep the material is we use some sort of sandpaper or some sort of brush to get it down to the bare metal. Your base coat should always be on your bare metal. You can powder coat over existing coats. When you do that, there will be imperfections in your coat. With that, anything that's a liquid, when it gets hot, it wants to bubble on you. It wants to run and anything like that. Powder coating doesn't do that. Once it flashes over, it becomes a liquid until its cure point, and then it is a solid. You want to get it down to the base metal by using sanding, starting from a real low grit, working up to a high grit. Once you're done doing that, we want to go to our next step in prepping, is we want to clean it. Basic solvents, mild dish soap and water will get majority of the dust off and any contaminants that are on there. Once you're done doing your base prep for it, your basic cleaning, you're going to use a high solvent chemical. Acetone works the best because it dries fast and it does not leave a film left over on it. You're going to use a soft cloth to do it, preferably one that is a lint-free cloth. You don't want lint grabbing onto your material. Once you're done with that, you want to use an air hose with a water separator on it to go ahead and dry your component off to 100% no moisture on it. After you have done that, you're going to go ahead and prep your equipment. Now, prepping your equipment is just as important as prepping your material. Mind you, once you're done prepping your material, you do not want to touch it with your hands. Any type of oils or any type of skin that can come up on your hands will contaminate what you're trying to coat. You want to keep it as clean and sterile as possible. Same with your equipment. Your equipment is your masking equipment. You have caps and you have plugs to plug up any holes for any threading, and caps to cover up any bolts. And you have tape that comes in various sizes all the way up to 3 inches in length. This is a standard 1/4 inch. It's used for pin striking designs. You can get really intricate into this. So you want to make sure your equipment that you're using is clean while you do this, because you don't want to recontaminate your product. With that, you have your powder coating gun. This is a basic $60 powder coating gun that can be bought at Harbor Freight. Okay? It compiles of one single component with 2 subcomponents on it. You have your gun itself, which is an air gun with a powder feeder up top, and you have your electrical current box. Your electrical current box provides both a positive and negative charge. Your positive charge is going to go through your rod here. As the powder gets discharged out, it's going to electrically charge the powder. And then you have your negative rod, which is going to be the one that connects to your actual component. Once, as everybody knows, the positive and negative, they attract together. So you're not going to have a giant ball of dust everywhere. It's going to draw itself to the component itself. You want to make sure that your equipment is free of any type of moisture. Moisture is the #1 destroyer of powder coating. Right? It is a powder just like sand. If you take sand and you add water, you get mud. Mud is very dirty, it's very sloppy, and that will reflect onto the component that you're doing. So you have your feeder, you're going to pour your powder in there. So still, with prepping your material, your equipment itself, you want to prep your powder. Right? Your powder should be in 2 configurations as you store it. Either double bag sealed or in an airtight container. They come in all different colors, shapes, and sizes. You can get up to a 55-gallon drum of powder coat. All right, you want to make sure that it's free of any moisture, and how you feel for that is just put your fingers in it and feel for any clumps that have clumped together. After you do that, you're going to attach your hose, your air hose. All right, it's a basic air hose from a basic compressor, and you're going to go ahead and set your pressure. You want to maintain your pressure anywhere between 5 to 10 psi. If you have an air gun, it's best to test it on your hand before hooking it up to there. You'll test it on your hand. You just want it to make a little indent into your hand. And after you have done all this, we're going to go ahead and add our powder to here, right? Get it staged, and what's most important when doing anything in the shop? Safety. Safety is important. While you're conducting powder coating, you need to make sure you wear protective gloves and a respirator. All right, respirator is very important for you. It protects your lungs because, as California states, this is very cancerous. Going to our next step, now that we've done all the hard work, we're going to actually spray our component. As we spray the component, something like this is kind of hard to just spray and be able to put in without bumping into the side, because it leaves a little, literally a coat of powder on top of it. So any sort of extra blowing of dust or any type of smudges does affect your product. What we would like to do, if you're powder coating something like this, is you would want to hang it off of a loop. What it does with that is it keeps everything from contacting it, and it gives you a point to grab and manipulate your material as you're moving it about. You want to make sure that you have a clean area, preferably one that has a downdraft table of some sort. Either a downdraft table that brings the powder down or back. What you don't want is accumulation of excess powder of different colors, because you've been using the same box over and over and over again. So now what you thought was black now ends up being a chameleon color. After you do that, you're going to connect your leads. So if I were to hang this up, I don't need to necessarily connect my negative lead directly to it. You always want to hang it up with another piece of metal. With that, you'll go ahead and you'll just attach the clip to the other piece of metal. That way there's a constant contact with the material that you're going to be spraying. As you're spraying, you want to start off to the side. You're going to give it a light burst to make sure that you have a generous amount of powder flowing. Once you do that, you're going to go ahead and activate your lead by pressing on your pedal. Some powder coating units have a switch. This one particularly has a pedal. It makes it a little bit easier, so I have both hands available to me. You're going to give it a generous spray using a circular motion to make sure that powder engulfs the entire component itself. Now that you have your material engulfed in powder, now it's time to bake it. Yes, I did say bake it. It is just like making cookies with your mother. Now you're making metal parts shiny again with your father. You'll go ahead and you'll preheat your oven. Any basic oven will do. I have a conventional oven at my house. Some people use an easy bake oven. Some people even use propane industrial size ovens, and those can do up to full body frame cars. Your oven is really your limiting factor. If you can't put it in an oven, you can't powder coat. Once you preheat it, for instance, this set of powder coat on the back has directions. What it does is it tells me I need to preheat my oven at 350 degrees. I can take this component after I'm done coating it and throw it directly into the oven at 350 degrees. Once my core temperature of this piece of metal reaches 350 degrees, my timer starts for my baking time. Okay. How will I know that? Well, laser thermal temperature gauges allow us to just open up the door, point, squeeze, and it'll tell us the temperature of the component that you're pointing it at. You want to make sure that component is truly there. A lot of people believe that once the powder turns into a liquid, which you will see it into, it's called a flash point, that's when your time starts. The core temperature of the component has to reach the temperature first before your time starts. If you have a big, thick piece of metal that you're doing, it is rarely recommended after you're done prepping your material before you coat it to go ahead and put it in the oven at that baking temperature to preheat it. You'll let it sit in there for about an hour at that temperature to get it fully up to temp. And then you'll pull it out, you'll spray it real quick, and as you spray it, you'll see the powder turn into a liquid almost instantaneously. So from there, after everything's done and our cooking time is over, we're going to go ahead and let the component gradually cool. You never want to super cool a component after it's been extremely hot. You'll end up cracking the metal or destroying your finish that you put on there. As it gradually comes down to room temperature, now you can enjoy what you just powder coated. As you guys see, I passed out some aids over here. What the component looked like before and what it looks like after, just with this simple powder coating. This right here, the whole process took all of 20 minutes to do. And now I know that this will never rust, and it's very, very durable, that I don't have to worry about it chipping or flaking off. So with this, we learned about powder coating in the 4 steps: prepping the material, the equipment, spraying the material, and baking it in the oven. Hopefully you guys take this and you can make your components last a little bit longer. And again, this whole setup is 60 bucks. Very cheap and inexpensive, and it goes a long way.